Staff ready? Council ready?
Yep.
All right, let's light this candle. Going to open the city council workshop for January 28th, 2025 at 4:31. Do we have any public comments, ma'am?
No, sir.
All right. Let's start with item 2A, Public Safety Facility Change Order. And I don't see Mr. Hornis, so I'm going to go to you.
He is out, so we're going to conquer this as a team effort. So,
Thank you.
We've brought the burn team in here. I think most of you may
We
recall
have.
Mr. Battle's presented a few times. He's going to give us a brief overview, and then we will bring this to you this afternoon in this evening's meeting to take action. So right now, feel free to ask any questions you have. So,
Okay, what's the best way to bring up that?
Help Martin to bring it up.
Okay. There it is. Okay, let me get my bearings here. Okay. All right, well, good afternoon, Mayor, City Council, City staff. It's a pleasure to be here in front of you today to give you an update. My name's Tony Battle. I'm the president of Byrne Construction. It's been about a year, I think, since I presented to City Council, and we have been busy. So in the last year, this is progress on site. As of about a couple of weeks ago, I think these drone pictures were taken, and so you can see that our building is well underway. It's now watertight, so our building shell and envelope is complete. So roof's on, windows are in. We got permanent power to the building, which is always a big milestone. So that was done about 2 weeks ago. And we now have air on, so we've got climate control in the building in about a quarter of the building. So courts and fire, we now have, we're blowing air, which is great news because we can get started on our finishes. And so the building's really starting to take shape. As you know, it is a very dense building, lots of walls to build, lots of infrastructure in this building. So, you know, that component of the building takes a long time to do. And I know you can probably keep driving by saying, well, it kind of looks the same, but there's a lot going on inside. The exterior is really going to start to take shape. Our limestone masonry that we've been waiting, that procurement item took a little while, but it's here. And so the limestone is going to start going on the exterior of the building. So you'll start seeing some changes to the exterior of the facility. So anyway, we're excited about the progress. We think it's really starting to take shape. And I think it's going to be just as beautiful and beneficial as we all anticipated. So why are we here today? There is a pending change that we want to bring in front of council. We will, just as Kyle said, we're going to bring it to you, in the actual council meeting, but wanted to give you an overview here. And so I'm going to take a minute to kind of talk about it high level. We'll get a little bit more granular as we progress through this presentation, but I'm going to keep it relatively quick. So our current GMP, which is guaranteed maximum price, is for the $39.5. The pending changes that we want to talk to you about today are for the $400,000-ish. So that would revise our GMP to $39.9. I think what's important to note here is these are anticipated changes. So these are changes that we've been talking about since inception. What we were wanting to wait for is the right time to incorporate these changes into the building. So we now feel that we're far enough along in construction that we feel comfortable to release some of these dollars into other components. So one of those is Guardian Plaza, and then the other one is the covered parking. And so let's dig into those in just a little bit more detail. So PR2 is the Guardian Plaza, and basically it's everything that is going to be fixed to the ground or a foundation component or something that needs to be built by us. So not any of the loose items, right? So we're adding tree walls, some landscaping, some limestone benches, lighting and security. There's some power for convenience receptacles that we're going to put out in that area. Obviously, there's infrastructure associated with that, so we need to do it now. Architectural features in the concrete and the flat work, and then foundations and footings only for the benches and statues. So the benches and statues are not going to be procured by us. It's my understanding that you have some fundraising going on elsewhere that's going to handle the dollars associated with those items, and then they would be procured outside of our scope. So that's Guardian Plaza, and then the covered parking, which we have all been anticipating and keeping our fingers crossed that we would be able to afford. And it seems like we're there. So the footings, the steel, and then, of course, all the other associated items to provide covered parking for 58 parking spots. So that's to protect your city assets, your PD cruisers. So, any questions on either one of those items?
I just was curious, when your first slide showed the progress.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
was curious to know where the covered parking was if you were looking at that particular picture. I know where the Guardian Plaza is.
Yeah, that's right in the very front. I
Right.
don't know if this has a pointer. Can you?
Or yeah, you could just say northwest corner or,
If you look at that top.
Oh, just use the map.
It'll be on
It's in there.
south side of the project.
okay,
Top right photo on the far right.
It's over here, right? In this area? Yeah,
okay.
there you go.
And then there's some additional parking spots in the actual courtyard.
In here.
Got it, okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And that'll be covered as well? Inside the courtyard or just on the outside?
For right now, I think it's just on the outside. Is there some in the inside?
There is, okay.
Yeah, sorry, forgive me for not knowing all those granular details. But yes, so yeah, a component, and then I think there is some additional covered parking down the road that we would like to bring in, and I'll talk about that here in just a second. But for now, it's the 58 spaces that we are asking for today. So let's just kind of high-level look at schedule. We are on schedule with our project. Obviously, there's been some weather delays, and so we've incorporated those into the contract, just with rain or whatever it is that's throughout the year or so's progress. Those are incorporated, and then there is the associated days with these changes, but they're minimal. And so our substantial completion remains at the end of Q2. And so that's our substantial completion. I think I always want to be clear with this, just because it's substantially complete on our end, that doesn't mean you get the keys and you're moving in tomorrow, right? There's a whole period of time where you are moving in your equipment and getting used to the building, et cetera. And so that'll probably take another quarter for you guys to actually be in this building and operating it. So I always like to be clear with the expectations there. So future council action items. So this is kind of giving you a glimpse into the future and what we are going to come back to you for at some point. So there is an anticipated, the second council meeting in February. I believe Michael Hornes is going to come back and get approval for the FF&E. That's the furniture, fixtures, and equipment. And so I believe that's going to be an owner-furnished, contractor-installed item. So you guys would be writing a PO directly to the manufacturer. And then there would be a slight change to our contract to facilitate the coordination and installation. So that'll be coming in February. March and April, there'll be some equipment, some additional equipment for the building, fitness equipment, some shelving, and some appliances that I think we're still talking among staff and us, but I think we will handle those items. So that'll be another slight change that we'll just incorporate into our contract. And then the remaining alternates that have been contemplated from the beginning, but we're going to try to incorporate into the job as we have funds that will allow, will be in April or May. That'll be the Sally Port that we've talked about. The additional covered parking spaces. How many additional covered parking spaces is there? 13 additional covered parking spaces, and then some additional security and lighting. And so we will be back to you in April, May for those items. That's kind of our drop dead date. We need to have approval of those items in order to be able to get them in before the substantial completion. And that's all I have for you tonight. But again, I would be remiss if I didn't say how thoroughly we and the team have enjoyed working with all of your different stakeholders. So it really, truly, we build these facilities, public safety facilities, all throughout the state. And we deal with all different municipalities, some a little more difficult than others, as you can probably imagine. But it has been nothing but a pleasure. And you have a team of staff that are knowledgeable, malleable, open to suggestions, and they don't dig their heels in, and they do when they need to, which is a good compromise on both sides. And All the parties have just been great to work with, and we wouldn't be this far along in our progress if it wasn't for all of that. So kudos to all of your city staff and the whole team. So good work. And with that, I'll turn it over to questions.
Any other questions for Tony?
Thank you for saying that, because we do have the best staff.
You do.
And of course, we're coming in under budget as we speak right now, correct?
That is correct.
Even with the change order.
In terms of your overall budget, that is correct. You have an overall project budget, and I don't see all of that. I have seen a glimpse into it, and it is my understanding that you are under budget.
Okay, awesome.
Yes.
Do we know how much?
So I was gonna say, this, to give you an idea, we allocated 600,000 for owner contingency for anticipated changes such
Okay.
as this. Bioretention basin that's reimbursed with the UGRA, the covered parking, some of the stuff we've known. So we've had a $600,000 placeholder. Right now, we're still, showing to be under budget. The numbers are coming in really good for some of these other items. So as we bring them to you, we'll keep you posted on where that's fallen. Because I know we've got the 500,000 additional. Our hope is to bring that back to you.
Real quick, before you move down to other questions, the storage, we took that out at one point. Were we able to put that back in or not?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
We captured that within our GMP
okay.
for the third package.
Support facility.
Thank you.
Yeah. The support facility is actually, I saw them out there tying steel, and we're pouring the slab for that building. And then that building will be delivered in the next couple of months, I would
Okay.
think. So yes, that is incorporated.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Well, I've misplaced my paperwork for this workshop, so I'm gonna have to ask a question. Which one were we possibly gonna get some grant money to the tune of 200,000? Was it this or another project?
I don't know if grant money specifically, it could have,
Donated money?
yeah, it could have been like for the memorial.
Okay.
And their memorial piece we're working through the details on that, but we'll
This-
have to put money up front for that, and then whatever could be reimbursed, we'll figure out what that project looks like.
All right, I just wanna make sure I was clear on my mind, but the great presentation. And thank you for the compliments.
Oh, you're welcome.
The covers, or the covered parking area, is it gonna be I've seen a whole bunch of different variations of it, and is it a solid rooftop, or is it kind of like that heavy canvas sail material that deflects hail and all that stuff?
No, sir, so we went through a lot of different pricing options on this. The canvas topped covered parking, we could not get a warranty.
We have to record these.
Understood.
If you could talk in the microphone.
Yes, sir. So we went through a bunch of different pricing options with the covered parking, the intent being budget friendly for the value. The canvas tops, we couldn't get a warranty for 2-inch hail, so we went with a metal deck on it. So it'll be a steel structure all the way through.
Good. Yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
they're solid. Some of those fabric ones, you're constantly replacing fabric, and we
Factor too.
prefer not to put those in.
Any other questions? Kent, any questions?
No.
Thank you for the presentation.
Yes.
You're
You
welcome.
running to Bandera for a meeting?
I am. Yes, sir. 6
Safe
o'clock,
travels.
and then a basketball game after that for my daughter.
Way to go.
So busy. Thank y'all. Have a good evening.
Thank
Be
you.
careful. Thank you. All right, with Mr. Horn, thank you very kindly. With Mr. Horn is out, who is going to present on 2B? Quality of Life Projects Update.
Good evening, council. I'm going to start with three of the projects actually. Two of them are combined, and then Kyle will take the others. I'll start with the Scott Schreiner Golf Course. Just an update on it. We are moving right along with that. We're actually ahead of schedule. We haven't had really any weather delays at all. I believe it's a total of 1.85 weather days if you really, get down, drill into it. We've cored all the greens. We've taken all the tee tops off. Everything has come back in. They're currently excavating sand bunkers and putting in drainage in those. So it's moving right along. We're getting just right along. It looks completely different out there. We also have staff that are doing a lot of the tree trimming and the stuff that we could do in-house. So a lot of that's coming together. And then MC Fonseca is working on the bridges, and they're again moving right along. They've taken all of the bridges out except for a piece of one that's given them a little bit of a problem, but they're going to bring in a bigger machine and take care of it. So.
What's the project completion date again for that?
What we're trying to do, we've got two different dates in mind. We want to open the end of July. If in a perfect world, weather's where it needs to be, and we get the sprigs and the sod in time for what we need to put down, that's what we want to do.
Okay.
We built a 30-day buffer in there just in case. So best case scenario, end of July. Worst case scenario, end of August.
Okay. Thank
And
you.
as of right now, again, weather pending, and we can get the grass. There's no reason in the world why we can't be at the end of July.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on this for Shane?
I have a comment, and this is a point of clarification from a letter that was written to the editor, that we authorized and spent $486,000 on one bridge at the golf course.
What?
That was the total amount for all of the bridges, am I correct in that?
Correct, yes, sir.
So it was
Yes.
put in the paper by who wrote it, and I don't remember, that we spent that much money on one bridge. And I just want to clarify that that's not one bridge. So,
Correct. It's 5 bridges.
yes, sir.
Correct. And that's the removal and installation of 5 bridges.
Okay.
Other comments?
Can I make a tea time yet in August, or?
We're not taking them that far in advance, but we'll definitely let you know
I'll
when
be
we
ready.
can.
Kent, you got anything? No, good. Anything?
I'm good.
All right, thank you.
So we'll move from there to playgrounds real quick. We've got the 2 playground replacements, one at Guadalupe Park and one at Kerrville Shriner Park. Those, TF Harper's the contractor, they actually showed up today. So they have one of their crews that is bringing in all of, I think they got 7 truckloads of materials for both playgrounds. They've also, another part of their crew started taking down the old playground at Kerrville Shriner Park, so it's gone. It's completely gone today. They've got it. If you were to go over there and look, it doesn't exist anymore.
Wow.
It's completely out of there. And so they will begin construction on that immediately while they're still bringing in the other pieces. So the Kerrville Shriner Park playground goes up first, and then they'll do the Guadalupe Park playground. We'll close the entire park for that, which we can close the front entry gates for that. And they're gonna keep the materials off site, so we're not gonna have to worry about people or anything happening to those materials there. We're gonna keep them in a secure location and bring them over as they need them.
Timeline for that?
5 to 6 weeks total for both. That's
okay.
weather pending. We're in a little bit of the worst weather season you can get in, so we'll see. But so far, so good. As of day one, they've already done a tremendous job. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Questions or comments from Mr. Heffernan?
I'll make a comment, just because I pass it every day on the way to work on Guadalupe Street. I've seen your crew out there doing other things than the playground stuff, but the sand volleyball court, replacing lights and making sure that all that stuff is out there. So it's kudos to your staff, Shane, and for what y'all are doing for us.
I'll pass that along.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kyle, are you up?
A few more projects for you. So
right.
this was, a very important bond for a multitude of reasons. Olympic pool renovation's another big one. We're looking about March, April timeline to bring in a construction contract. So we're finalizing design, coordinating a few little last utility location details, kind of getting in the minutia of where we need to be budget-wise, and getting with Marvin Mock on getting those documents finalized so we can get that out to bid. So like I said, the hope is March, April timeline to bring that back to council for consideration. Caldo Theater, we brought that back to you in October, November timeframe. We've got a contract signed now, so there was some back and forth with the holidays, and we've got that signed. We actually issued the notice to proceed today. Now, if you recall, though, that does not mean they're starting. That means we're starting. The theater will shut down in March. We're still planning to be open before their September dates are occurring. So we did give them additional 2 weeks because of some of the equipment delays, but we're still looking end of July, first part of August to have them wrapped up and get Jeffrey and his folks back in that building. So big deal. Kind of like Shane said. Weather-wise, it's not the prime time to be replacing the roof, but it's long overdue. So, Granger McDonald Park, kind of same thing as the pool. We're still proceeding with design. We're working with a grant agent who is trying to assist us with some U.S. Fish and Wildlife grants for the boat ramp. So I think that deadline is Monday, I believe, February 3rd. And so we'll get that issued, but we're still proceeding with design with Hewitt. And, timeline on the grant, maybe June, first part of the summer. So once we know more about that, we're just, we'll get back to you, but we're just proceeding, with our design as it is. And the last one that I had, is one that, a little more, visual, is the AC Shriner, the Heritage Center house. You haven't seen, there's some dirt moving over there. A lot of the, infrastructure inside is what's changing. We've had a few little modifications that when Mr. Brinkman did the remodel, there was some structural components that were taken out, so we had to get with Angela and make a few little recommendations and have her choose a little bit of how we want to do this to support what they need. But all in all, it's actually gone pretty well for the age of the house. So they're staying on schedule, and weather permitting, we're going to get an elevator shaft up pretty quick. So that's all I had. If you have any questions on any of these, feel free to.
I don't want to speak ill of Mr. Brinkman. That was probably Mr. Shellhays that made those changes.
Well, we thought Shellhays, but we were told Brinkman too. So
Okay.
yeah, it's always interesting because the stuff we find in there is.
4 of us took a tour the other day. It's amazing how much work has already been accomplished. And the pictures that I snapped have been passed around among the museum people and us. A lot of work's going on. It's good.
Yes, sir.
Any questions?
Mayor and Council, real quick, if you don't mind,
Please,
Mayor.
go ahead.
Two things, in addition to that, on the grant side, we're still waiting to kind of see what happens and how we're gonna be impacted, but there's basically a federal freeze on all federal grants. We don't know what's gonna impact us yet, but as soon as we know, we will update y'all on the status of that. On Granger McDonald Park, Schulte and McDonald Group, they have submitted the engineering designs for the road, so it's with our teams now, and we're getting those reviews wrapped up so we can get that back to them so they can start working on construction of that road so we can get it abandoned.
Knapp Road. All right, any questions
I do.
for Kyle or for Dalton or even for Shane?
The Olympic pool,
Yes, ma'am.
is it gonna be closed this summer coming up?
Yes. Yes,
What
we-
about the following summer?
The hope is, I think typically Memorial Day, is that correct? Memorial Day of '26 is when we're hoping to get that. We'll know more once we get a contractor hired. We've had a little bit of delays here and there.
Right.
Utilities, but.
Yeah, I'd
the
hate for it to
intent-
go 2 seasons
Right.
unopened. I have a lot of grandkids, and we go
That's
there
the
all
same
the
for us.
time.
We're trying to push this thing as quick as possible. So.
Need that pool.
I need that pool.
But yes,
Okay,
ma'am,
so
26.
one season, it'll be closed?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Other questions or comments?
I'll just make a comment just to plug the Callow Theater. The VK Garage will remain open throughout all of this construction, so you will still have your entertainment options available to you.
And they're completely redesigning that lobby, and will be offering spirits by donation, and it's
Right.
looking awesome in there.
They were really complimentary of your efforts on the board, by the way.
Oh, they were?
This morning, yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
well,
Just passing that on.
thank you.
And we'll issue a press release once that construction actually gets going.
Okay.
Because the contractor will need to use some of the parking lot, but, we've got a couple churches right there that use the parking lot on Sundays, and that's still gonna be accessible. Everything the contractor's gonna have is gonna be fenced off and secure, so, I know that's got a few folks concerned, but we're still leaving the majority of the parking lot open.
Okay.
Anything else?
Other questions, comments about item 2B?
I've got one more comment, I'm sorry.
Oh,
but
please.
It goes back to Shane. So, Councilmember Hughes, McKinney, and myself were asked, I guess everybody was, but we were there this morning at Notre Dame Catholic School. And the 8th graders stuck around afterwards to ask questions, which were pretty intense
intense.
questions
Pretty
that came from 8th graders. And one of them was, what's the city doing for young people? And when we told them, because they were talking about playgrounds and things, well, the city just spent money on playgrounds and new equipment, and they were very happy with that answer. So it's just thank y'all for
Yes.
taking care of our youngsters in town too.
Absolutely. And there's more to come, right? Where there's some more stuff in the pipeline that you'll see too.
Good. Any other comments or questions? All right, I guess that concludes everything on the agenda for this workshop. So I'm going to go ahead and adjourn. Do we have anything else that we need to talk about that's on the agenda? All right. Workshop's adjourned at 4:55.